Hi, let's talk about curling for a minute. Perhaps an elusive subject to many folks. The topic of which I speak is above and beyond what girls do to their straight hair with a heated rod. That, of course, is a curling iron. The kind of curling I refer to, dear readers, is of a far more slippery concept. By definition, curling is a game played on ice, particularly favored by Scotland and Canada, in which large, polished circular stones with iron handles are slid across an icy surface toward a predetermined mark. The ancient Scottish sport has been called a hybrid of bowling and chess on ice, but perhaps the closest analogy is shuffleboard. Members of a team use brooms to sweep the surface of the ice in the path of the 42-pound granite stone, the best of which come from a single quarry in Scotland, to control its speed and direction. Each player on the team throws 2 stones during an end, which is sort of like an inning in baseball. The team with the most points after 8 or 10 ends wins the match. Did I mention you can knock your opponent's stones out of contention? The name curling comes from the Old English verb to cur, or growl. There's a fair amount of shouting during games, as team members urge each other on while sweeping the ice in front of the stone. Example: Curler 1.
Come on, you hoser! Hurry up and sweep faster!
Curler 2.
Take off, you knob! I'm sweeping as fast as I can, eh?
Just for a moment, let's pretend that you are super into curling. You are not merely a weekend warrior or a fan who shows up to rousing, rustic curling matches every 6 months or so. You are obsessed with it. You play it, you watch it, you talk about it, you dwell on it, you feed on it, you live and breathe it. You wear t-shirts that read, "Whenever I'm not curling, I wish I was curling," or "Curling is greater than life," in big brash typeface, all too reminiscent of those overbearing 90s and 1 shirts the cool kids in elementary school used to wear. Curling is what you do, therefore curling is who you are. You are a curler. You curl. Now, all this being said and understood, what would you say, hypothetically speaking of course, if someone were to invite you, say, to a Sufjan Stevens show? Naturally, you would laugh in their face, not because you don't like Sufjan, quite the contrary, and shout at the top of your lungs, "Are you kidding me, dude? I'll totally be curling that night!" To which your friend would display a look of bewildered horror at your raucous remark, and promptly walked away muttering something about how psychotic you are. Another example. What would you say if you found yourself called to the stand at a federal court trial, looking bored and elsewhere enough to invoke an off-the-record demand by an irritated judge, something to the effect of, "Excuse me, but I'm going to have to ask you to pay more attention to what's going on here. You seem extremely inattentive and heedless to everything that's been said thus far. What, may I ask, weighs so heavily on your mind that it obviously requires more of your attention than that of present matters?" To which you would stand up with your fist in the air and scream with the fire of 1,000 suns, "Curling!" Yet another example. What would your response be, say, if you were sitting in a particularly uncomfortable chair at a baby shower, dragged along by your significant other, forced to celebrate the joyous occasion of some elated woman you don't even know, let alone plan to become friends with? The feigned semi-interest, or rather discernible annoyance in your eyes quickly becomes obvious to your sweetheart, who shoots murderous looks in your direction throughout the evening. And then, in a moment of private secrecy, hisses in your ear, "What are you doing? This is important. The least you could do is act interested. Where, may I ask, would you rather be?" To which you would let out a thunderous, lion-hearted roar, leap onto the nearest table and proclaim to the heavens, "I'd rather be curling!" Beginning to see a pattern? Keep all this in the back of your mind. Now pretend you are me. You live in Minnesota, yet again hypothetical speaking, which is always a stone's throw from Canada, however you choose to fold the map. You live in a place where kids ride snowmobiles and four-wheelers with chains around the tires to school. Carhartt jackets, American flag decals, and lutefisk are everywhere you look. You don't follow hockey, but you enjoy cheering for a good game now and then, mostly for the fighting, and you boast a vague understanding of the rules involved. Your uncle is bald on the top of his head but still has a ponytail. Your older brother hauls around a $3,000 mountain bike atop his $500 car. You switch from heat to AC in the same afternoon. Your definition of traffic jam is 9 cars waiting to go around a tractor. You think the red-green show is hilarious. The neighbors hate it when you talk to your plants because you use a megaphone. You put a new engine in your car, but forgot to take the old one out, so now your car goes 500 miles per hour. You understand why it's prohibited to throw most things off the top of the Empire State Building. But seriously, what's wrong with little bits of cheese? Do you see where I'm going with this? Am I making myself clear? If your answer to such questions is no, or not really to be honest, or wait, can you repeat the question? Or what on earth are you talking about? Then pretend this. Pretend you keep a blog. You're a blogger. You blog. Pretend you had a ridiculously limited grasp of what curling actually was, aside from playing Nagano Winter Olympics for the Nintendo 64 in 1998, until you looked it up on Wikipedia. Now pretend you wrote a blog about curling that made absolutely no sense to anyone, including yourself. You merely wrote it because you adore writing. Now pretend you have zero idea of how to close the aforementioned blog because your topic is starting to tangent and run-on sentences run amok. Now pretend the more you think about curling, the more hilarious it becomes to you. And as a result, the more hot chocolate geysers out of your mouth whenever you attempt to stifle an impending snort of laughter. Now pretend you're hungry and run to the kitchen and make a sandwich. And finally, while you thoughtfully eat that sandwich and pace around on the linoleum in your new Christmas socks, pair 6 of 45, image what a perfect ignoramus you'd look if ever you were to take up the ostentatious sport of curling. Now stop pretending you are me and have a good long hearty laugh, but be careful not to choke. Ha! Ha ha ha! I rest my case. Good curling, everyone!